Gary from MACMOST here. macOS finally gets window tiling. Let's take a look. So with the initial public release of macOS Sequoia, we finally have window tiling in macOS. Here's how it works. So I've got a bunch of different windows on my desktop here. I've got two Finder windows, a Safari window, and a Notes window. And they're all overlapping. And the idea behind window tiling is to be able to precisely position these so that perhaps they don't overlap. For instance, I may want this to be in the top left quarter, this window to be on the right half. You've got a whole variety of different ways in which you can do this. You've got some menu commands in the menu bar. You've got keyboard shortcuts. You've got the green button at the top left corner of all windows, and you can drag the windows into position. Let's start with the menu bar. So here in the window menu, you've got a variety of different things. Let's start here at the top, and you'll see that zoom is still there. Now, if you remember, zoom will sometimes take a window to the maximum size, filling the entire screen. But if the window doesn't need all that space, like the document doesn't actually need the full screen to be displayed, then zoom will just fill to the largest size the window needs, which frustrates a lot of people. They want it to fill the whole screen. So now we've got fill. Fill actually does this. Notice the keyboard shortcut is Control and then the FN or globe key and F for fill. When you choose this, you can see the window fills the maximum amount of space on the desktop. Now, a really cool thing that window tiling does, and you're going to see me use it throughout this tutorial, is that when you change the position and size of a window like this with one of these commands, you can get it back to the original position and size by dragging it. Watch what happens when I drag this window. It pops back to that size. So keep that in mind. The next option here is center. And this will take the window, it won't resize it, but it will center it like that. Now let's look at the next set down here. Under Move and Resize, we have all of these different options. The first four are for halves. So we can go left, right, top, or bottom, filling half of the available space. So we have keyboard shortcuts for this. They're always Control and then the FN or globe key and then one of the arrow keys. It makes sense. You use the left arrow key for the left half, for instance. If I choose this, you can see the window pops over to the left half. And just like before, I can drag it and you can see it goes back to its original size. There's a menu choice for this under Move and Resize as well. It's at the bottom, Return to Previous Size, Control, FN, and R. The next set here allows you to do quarters. So you can do top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. So you can choose one and you can see how that window pops over into the top left corner. The next set here allows you to arrange multiple windows. So when I use one of these, it's going to take the topmost window and the next window and arrange them side by side or one above the other, with the darker one being the current window. So if I choose right and left, the current window, this Finder window, will go to the right and the next window below that will go to the left. So you can see how it took the Safari window, the next one, and put that over to the left. And I could drag this window back. And when I drag this window away, it also goes back to its previous size. And you also have one called Quarters, which will take the top four windows and put one in each quarter of the screen. Now, there are more options than just these. If you hold the Option key down while viewing this menu, note that you can get left and then quarters, right and quarters. What this does is it uses three windows. The main one goes to the left and then the next two are tiled one above the other on the right. And the same for these other options here. If you find value in these videos, consider joining the more than 2,000 people that support MACMOST at Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. Read about it right here. Now note the next menu item down here is Full Screen Tile. So this is Split View, which has been around for years. This hasn't changed. You still have access to be able to move this window to the left side of a new space and then choose another window for the right side. And this is a separate space now in Mission Control, as you could see. And it works just like before. So I can dismiss it here and these go back to a single desktop like before. You also have Full Screen, which has always been in the View menu. You go to View, you could enter Full Screen like before and it takes that current window full screen in Mission Control like that. Now the menu bar is probably not the most convenient way to access these. There's another way right inside the window, and that's to use the green button. All you need to do is move the pointer over the green button and a menu appears. And you notice that the green button gives you similar options to the window menu move in Resize submenu. You've got halves here at the top and you've got fill and arrange here, but it gives you kind of a subset. You can use fill there. You can go to the left and have the next window go to the right. You can go to the left and have the next two windows tile to the right, or you can do quarters. Like with the menu, if you hold the Option key down, you get more options. So fill changes to center. And then these stay the same except priority is given to the right side instead of the left side here. And you still get full screen, enter full screen, left and right for split view like you had with the green button before. So you can use one of these options here. I'll go to the right side with this window, and just like before I can drag away and it returns to the size it was before. But that's still not the easiest way to use window tiling. The easiest way is to drag a window. If you take a window and you drag it to the left side of the screen, notice how you get this rectangle showing you the left side. If I drop it there, it takes up the left half. I didn't have to use the menu or the green button to do it. It works the same way, and I could drag away to go back to the regular size. I can go to the right side as well. I can also go to the top to fill the screen, but don't go all the way to the top as that brings up mission control. Just go up into the menu bar and then you see it fill the screen like that. You can also go to the corners for quarters. So I can go to the bottom left corner and the top left corner. Notice I can do it for under the menu bar. That's where the pointer is right now. It's not quite at the top left. And I don't even need to go all the way to the side, which is useful because going all the way to the side may trigger mission control going to the next space. So keep that in mind. But there's another way to do this, and that's to hold the Option key and drag. So instead of going all the way to the edges, if you're just dragging around, hold down the Option key and you can go to the left half, right half without you needing to go all the way over. So it makes it a little easier to drag and drop windows into position like that. So if I wanted to put these two windows in the right two quarters like this, I can drag to the right, position it right there. Let's drag this one to the right and position it right here. And then let's drag notes, say, to the left. I'll hold the Option key to do it. And now I've got my windows arranged nicely. Now previous ways of positioning windows still work, so keep that in mind because this gives you more options. For instance, let's say I want to take this notes window and make it the left side of the screen. I'll drag it over to the left here and drop it there. Let's say I want to make this documents window the right side of the screen. So I'll drag and drop it there. But I decide I want more room for notes than I do for the Finder. I can grab the left side of the window just like before and resize it. And then I could decide this is all I need. Now when I drag the right side of the notes window, it still snaps to the edge just like it has for many versions of macOS. So I can position it really easily to perfectly snap to that. Snapping works really nicely. You just push through if you want to go beyond, but otherwise it will kind of click into place there. You could do all of the other shortcuts that you had too. So for instance, if you had a window like this, you could drag the top. Option drag drags both the top and the bottom. In the corners, Option drag will drag all corners like that. And you can double click on a side or corner to have it snap. So I can snap this to the bottom by double clicking on the bottom. I could double click on the top left corner and that corner will snap there. So I could, for instance, reposition this window and have it lock into place here and then double click on the left side to have it snap to the left side of the screen. Now there's also a trick where you use Command drag to drag a window without bringing it to the front. So if I drag notes here, it brings it to the front. But if I hold the Command key down and drag notes, you can see it stays at the layer that it's at. I could still drag to the left or above or hold the Option key down to have it tile. So you don't need to have it be the frontmost window to do that. Also, I know people like to use the accessibility function of the 3-finger drag under motor, pointer control, and then trackpad options. You can turn this on and you could set 3-finger drag to be on. And when you do that, you can use 3 fingers on the trackpad to drag around rather than clicking and holding. Then you still can use tiling with 3-finger drag. And mission control works like you would expect. If you have another desktop, you can simply tile windows there. So I could drag this window to this desktop. I can drag it to the left So it takes up half of that. I can go over to this desktop and drag this to the left and all of that. Mission control and spaces doesn't get in the way of any of this window tiling. You also can use it with Stage Manager. So if I turn on Stage Manager here, I've got my app sets here and I could still tile this and split this over to the right like that. And this just repositions the window. So when I go back to this app set, it's just in that position. Now there are some settings for this. If you go into System Settings and then you go to Desktop and Dock, scroll down till you get to this section here that is under Windows, and there are 3 options for window tiling. First is tile by dragging windows to the screen edges. If it's getting in the way, you could turn this off. In addition, you've got the hold Option key while dragging. If that's getting in the way, maybe there's an app that you use where you have to hold Option down a lot, you can turn this off as well. And there's a third option here where if you had it on already, you may have wondered why I didn't have a gap between windows when tiling. That's this option. You turn this on, and now when you tile windows, like I'll take Safari window and go to the left, you can see I've got a gap here. I'll take Notes and go to the top right, and I'll take this Finder window and go to the bottom right, and you can see I've got this gap between everything. That's all because of this tiled windows have margins setting. Now some notes here. Not all windows can be resized to any size. For instance, System Settings has a fixed width. So if I go to tile this to the left quarter, you can see how it overlaps that a bit because you can't get System Settings any smaller. At regular screen resolutions, it'll actually take up less space than what's needed. At my really low resolution for these tutorials, I'm using more space. The calculator window is the same thing. If I try to put that on the left side here, it's not going to make it any larger. This calculator window is fixed at this size. And some windows just have a minimum size. For instance, this iMovie window here, you can't make it any smaller than what I've already got it. So if I try to move it to the right side of the screen, you can see it's not going to take up only half the screen. It's still going to fill all of it at this resolution. If you're disappointed that the quarters here don't have any keyboard shortcuts, don't worry, you could set those as well. You need to use the exact name of the menu item just like any keyboard shortcut, but you can ignore the special symbol there on the left. So for instance, for top left, if I wanted to set a keyboard shortcut for that, I could go to System Settings and then to Keyboard and then Keyboard Shortcuts. And then under App Shortcuts, I could add one. I'll keep it for all applications, call it top left, and I'm going to set it to say Shift Command and then the left square bracket like that. And that makes sense kind of for top left. And now when I look here in the window menu, I'll see that it's set to that, and I can use that keyboard shortcut for top left quarter. So I could assign to the other 3 as well. For most Mac users, these new window tiling features are a welcome addition and can make your Mac desktop a lot neater. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.